on WDHA's Reconnect with Rockers. I'm super psyched because I am connecting with this gentleman for the first time. I'm a huge fan, Dustin Bates from the band Starset. A huge fan of the band for so many reasons. Should I start? Let me start with the top three. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, let's go for top three. I love that you guys are sort of changing the game a little bit. I'd love to see a new band come in and in a couple of years change the game. And I'll talk to you about why that is in just a few. I love the cinematic rock thing, and I'll tell you why. I think that's an aspect of storytelling. And I think sometimes we get lost in storytelling. Look, I'm wearing the Bowie shirt. I was a kid. I grew up. I loved the storytelling. I loved the chameleon, the changing, the characters. That's a big part, I think, of music. And I love the fact that you're just a guy who really is multidimensional. You're a musician, you're an author, you're an astronomy guy. That's sort of where your kind of path began. So there's just so many things to talk to you about. But first, I want to talk about doing things kind of on your own, with your own path forged. You guys really seem to come in and bring in 2014 some real true originality to rock and roll.
Thank you. That's high praise. That's kind of the goal of things, to weave yourself into the fabric of rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always been something kind of different for you guys. The third record is out, Divisions. I love Trials. I think it's the perfect tune for right now because it's a battle cry song. And right now, everybody's looking for a battle cry. Everybody's feeling different things. They're feeling quarantine fatigue. They're feeling fear. They're feeling strength. They're feeling, I've lost my job. They're feeling, where are we going in the future? So talk to me a little bit about that tune.
Yeah, we didn't really plan it. It just worked out that way. It is a battle cry song, but it was intended as a battle cry in the general narrative of the Starset universe. But much like all of the music, the goal is to make it applicable to reality. And this one became more applicable than I could have ever guessed. And, I think it applies. The 2020 has been quite a challenge, and there's been lots of battles, internal and external, political as well. And so it's become a bit of it's been the Starset song for 2020, that's for sure. I can't say it doesn't totally feel like that. It's been a successful single over here, but it doesn't totally feel like our song because we haven't been on tour for 4 months.
Right.
So feel a little bit separated from it in general. But I guess that's a case of good luck, even though not really good luck. I'd much rather not have that song work so much and be on tour,
Well, you guys are such a great live band. It's a show. And I think that, we lose a little of that sometimes in rock and roll with the show. And I think it's amazing for future generations of rock fans to see the show. I remember being a kid and seeing David Bowie, and it was always a show. It's a show. Talk to me about why that was important for you. And talk to me also a little bit about, kind of marrying the two things that you love, being a musician, being a player, being in a working rock band, and also something that you have loved since you were a kid. And that's, kind of astronomy and studying astronomy and being part of that world too.
Yeah. It's certainly, I guess to the first part of the question or comment, I definitely, the way they were married together was almost natural. I was working on a PhD in electrical engineering, and I was working on, I got my first record deal with Epic Records with a different band, and this sort of both went away. I stopped the PhD so I could focus on that. I thought I was going to be a rock star, and then I got dropped very soon after because the label got a new president. And so then I was sitting there with neither, living in my parents' house momentarily, and this was an amalgamation of those two things, and it was only natural, and it's proven to be to work. And then, in addition, as you said, the show, in my opinion, I love, rock with shows, and I love the cinematic aspect, and I'm a big fan of movies and a big fan of sci-fi, and this blending it all together was also just natural for me and proved to be pretty symbiotic. But sometimes the show comes without substance, so I was hoping to try to bring true substance and the best I could with music, and at the same time the show, so it could all be, each component could serve to push the other up in a way that the product is greater than the sum of the parts.
I remember everybody telling me, when you guys first kind of burst on the scene, you got to see Starset. You got to see Starset. You're going to love Starset. You've got to see Starset. And, I think it's amazing because the live show is such a big part of who the band is. And yet there's still these sort of concept records. People call them concept records, but again, that is part of the storytelling thing. So I think you guys have done something that I haven't seen bands do in a long time. And I think that's kind of check all the boxes. And I think sometimes artists forget there's some cool boxes to check to really keep you stimulated as an artist. You're also an author, obviously. And so you must have felt very satisfied, even at the beginning of the sort of Starset journey. I'm so glad the first band didn't work out, because this was meant to be. And I'll tell you why it works so well is because there's such an authenticity to it, because you're so entrenched in all aspects of it.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I think it's been very fulfilling to do that, and to bring this out and have some level of success. I fell in love with the project early on, and so just making it great within my own mind was sort of the primary goal. And then the success side, then if you bring in like my general personality, I'm never quite happy enough with it on that level, but it has done well. So I have to sometimes sit back and be happy with it, but I certainly haven't checked off all of the success boxes, but the trying to make the art better all the time, those are two things to try to maximize and optimize independently, and they serve each other.
I also thought, when I first started listening to you guys, it must be very interesting to be somebody who is going to produce a Starset record, because it's not just a regular average gig, and I've talked to bands, especially bands that are in quarantine, and we got to talking producer talk, and producers become a part of the band,
Mm-hmm.
So what is it like for you guys choosing someone to produce the band? What was it like for you for the first record to do that and know that this is going to be somebody who sort of you have to get it? It goes beyond just listening to tunes and figuring out how to make them better and good and bring out, the guitar player, he forced me to play differently than I've ever played before. This is sort of like 3 steps beyond that, I think.
Yeah. You're dead on with that. I had to really think about it, but I also, on the first record, really only knew of one choice that I wanted. It was Rob Graves. Yep. And he had done Red, so he had done cinematic stuff before, but then he talks all the time about how much I pushed him constantly, but he definitely stepped up to it, and we worked well together. It was a lot of fun, and his signature is all over that record. And he did the next one as well. I took a stab at the third one, the most recent one, Divisions. I produced it, and just wanted to see what I had the vision in mind for this particular one, which was a slightly different sound, and that was it was a fun experiment. I'm not always going to self-produce, though, because I love to collaborate. I always feel like I get cooler things out of it. And on this most recent one, my friend Joe Rickard also helped. I didn't do it in a vacuum, even on this one. Joe is an incredible musician, but also has great engineering and producer chops. So he was my sounding board on the most recent one. But yeah, that's always a fun consideration moving into the next album.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Also, I wanted to talk to you guys about you guys sort of forging kind of a different business model, which I think has been incredible. You guys have really taken advantage of I mean, I remember like when you guys hit like 1 billion views, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I love to see, you know, a newish band, you know, band that's come out within the last decade or less, be able to do something like that and see how, you know, because we have good and bad with what's going on and what has gone on with the internet, and to see working musicians and artists have it work for them just is really great for me. It really like warms my heart, because this is going to be the future of where our industry goes. And so it's wonderful to see you guys be able to take that sort of into a new, I mean, I hate to use this phrase business model, but look, there's nothing wrong with having your life's blood be able to be the thing that sustains you as a working musician. That's what everybody ultimately wants. So
Yeah.
what was that like for you, being a band that was really groundbreaking with that, and having 1 billion YouTube views and 250 million streams, and like things that we hadn't really seen before?
Yeah. Well, so business model doesn't have to be a bad word. It doesn't have to even be, it doesn't even have to be the definition of sellout. The business model, you could, rather than making money, the business model could be towards consumption of music, you know, maximizing that. And every band wants to do that. And that's essentially how I approached it. And I also love technology, but also I try to realize the things that are coming, the things that are changing now, where it will go, and not fight that, but embrace it, and embrace all the things, all of the different disruptor technologies, and always look for those, because that's where the opportunity lies. And with Starset, it worked in tandem with the multimedia aspect and the storytelling aspect. And you know, we were coming into existence, you know, after YouTube had, you know, came out. Obviously it was becoming a household name, but it hadn't reached its pinnacle. It hadn't become fully mainstream. It hadn't become the center of consumption of video yet to the full extent that it had. And so I knew that that would be our very first place where we could hopefully push. And I had different initiatives, I guess, for how I could take tastemakers and give them access to the music and use them as flagships for the music. And we've done that with multiple platforms, and had to convince labels along the way that it would work. And sometimes wonder why we did even sign a record label, but one of the reasons would be to actually, it does suck a little. We made a lot of, or I personally, I guess, made, and I guess this kind of proves that I didn't sell out, because I sold so much of the capability to make money on going the traditional route just to have those doors, even though I knew that most of our consumption would happen outside of that in outlets that I'm generating myself. So, you know, massive amounts of what we've sold and audience that we've generated has been at the direct hands of sort of my approach to it. But I still don't make any money because I sold, you know, we sold it away. But you know, I wanted to make the band as big as possible, and
Right, absolutely.
you know, money will come,
And you guys will
whatever.
always be known as a trendsetter, as a band that was able to do that. And I think that that's going to be something that other bands are going to gravitate towards, you know, certainly in the future. You know, look, we've done this Reconnect with Rockers feature for a while now, and I talk to bands. I've heard you talk about that you enjoy touring a lot, and you really liked being out on the road. So what has it been like for you, especially with a new record that just dropped, you know, a few months before everything, you know, crashed in lockdown? So what has it been like for you not being able to get out and be with fans and be on the road? And you guys were always part of the, you know, the stadium, the festival touring, you know, season, so many great shows and huge crowds. And how has that been for you?
Yeah, it's it sucks to not to have, you know, worked on an album a long time and not really be able to push it out there and bring it to life to the level that I wanted. So that's kind of a bummer. It's a huge bummer. You know, and not it's been interesting to have the time off because it's allowed me to regroup, even though, you know, because we toured most of the last 5 years. And so that's been probably a good thing. But it would have been nice to do that after, you know, going out on this album and
Yeah.
capitalizing it in numerous ways and seeing the fans and having fun with it. But I've also been able to, you know, continue writing and also focus. I'm actually in my hometown of Salem, Ohio right now. I've been focusing on, I own a bar that's like, it's just a little side project. So I've been focusing on that.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have relatives in Ohio. Hey, everybody in Ohio.
Oh, nice.
My relatives are in Lewis Center, Ohio. So,
Okay,
hey,
that's awesome.
hey, everybody in Ohio. So who were some of your influences? Who was somebody that you looked at as a kid that was making music and it was sort of your epiphany moment and you were like, you know what? Yeah, I kind of think maybe I might want to do that.
Huh. Sorry, I lost track for a second because Ernie's over here like panting.
I have my Ernie questions ready. I'm ready for Ernie.
Oh, nice.
Ernie's coming
awesome.
next. Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. So artists. Well, the first one was Phil Collins. My mom would like play Phil Collins constantly.
There are so many people now that step right up to that Phil Collins plate, like or the Genesis with Phil Collins plate. Like, it's insane how many people now that I talk to, Phil was such a big influence on them as a songwriter and somebody who they first saw on MTV. So you're not the first person that's
awesome.
told me that.
That's cool. And yeah. So first it was music my parents listened to. You know, Pink Floyd, Phil Collins, Michael Jackson. But then I discovered, I think the first band I discovered myself was Weezer. So the Blue album by Weezer was a big favorite. Then I discovered Metallica on the newer stuff, but fell in love with the older stuff. So I was like the kid wearing Master of Puppets black T-shirts constantly in high school.
Love it.
And yeah, and you know, various other artists, grunge. But along the way, I've always fallen in love with many bands, from Pantera to soft stuff, really soft stuff. But also, you know, one of my favorite bands right around after that, Breaking Benjamin. That was I listened to a lot of that, and it was really cool to be able to tour with them, actually, because I learned how to write certain aspects of rock songs from Ben by listening to the music. And he actually texted me before Transmissions came out, and I didn't know him, you know, and said how much he loved it, and he was going to take us out on tour. So that was a crazy moment.
Yeah, and definitely another band that I see the, you know, songs are stories, pictures. Certain bands, you know, you get a picture in your mind of what, you know, of what the song means to you. And I love that. There's a certain aspect in music that I hope never goes away, you know, from that. You have bands that people go out and they love to just be like, yeah, you know, love seeing this band live. But then you've got bands that sort of go a little step beyond that and the storytelling's a little bit more intense. So yeah, everybody kept saying to me, you've not met Dustin backstage. You've not been backstage to a Starset, because they knew that it was really, for me, going to be all about Ernie. Ernie is a big part of the Starset kind of like experience. He's your dog. He's a Frenchie. He's a French bull. I have my dog here. You're very patient with her because I mentioned to you that we have a huge thunderstorm going on now in New Jersey, and she's, you know, she's a little tiny bit freaked out. She's usually full of more piss and vinegar than this. But I've heard so much about the Ern. He's at all the shows. He goes on tour. Now, is Ernie also missing being out on the road and sort of having his summer, you know, gig interrupted?
Well, he loves meeting people.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm sure. He misses that, I'm sure. But he also loves hanging out at his grandparents'. He's like both my dad and mom, stepmom, they all are big fans of Ernie, so he loves that. But I think he misses eating pizza and meeting fans. He definitely is the mascot, but also I strategically utilize him to take some of the heat off. You know, he comes to VIP, and my goal is just like Ernie can be the famous cool guy. Here he is, by the way.
Where is he? Where's Ernie? Oh, hey. Look at him. Rosie, look at Ernie. Ernie is so freaking chill, though. Does he always is he just chilling?
Well, he's extra chill because it's so sunny out, and we're like sitting in the sun right now, so he's like, hey, Ernie.
Look at Ernie. Rosie, look at Ernie. See Ernie?
He heard
look
treat.
At
you see that?
Oh, he is too. See, that's a face I would just smooch that face. Look at him. Look at Ernie. Hi, Ern.
Here.
She sees
watermelon?
Rosie sees Ernie. Oh, he's the best.
He's so sleepy he doesn't even want watermelon.
He is the best. So obviously Ernie's a big part of your life.
Oh yeah, totally.
Isn't it amazing what dogs end up doing for us? It's just, you know, I've talked to so many musicians that have been home now and they're zooming in with their dogs and they're just like, oh man, it's actually really great to spend some quality time with my dog and stuff. It's so incredible what they do for us, whether it's in times of trouble or just basic life experiences for us. They're such a part of the fiber of our lives.
Totally. He's definitely super big part of my life. Sometimes when we go to Europe, he can't come, so that sucks. But other than that, he's my sidekick.
Yeah, I can tell because you guys definitely look connected, and it's nice. My dogs have the same thing. They get to go with grandma, you know, when mom's off, you know, gallivanting and doing things, and it's not a sucky life to be our dogs. I mean, let's face it, they're living the dream.
He definitely is.
They're definitely living the dream. I've loved. I want to say you're on Reconnect with Rockers, but we're connecting for the first time. I've loved connecting with you. Starset's just, I think, such an important band that we have in music right now. We need more artists like you and like the rest of your band, because I love to see music take sort of a different path, a non-traditional path. And there's no band right now that sounds like Starset on the radio. And I absolutely love that. So, it's a pleasure to, you know, actually, I want to say sit down with you because, you know, I feel like we're in a
studio like that.
Or something. We are sitting down to some different degree, but best of luck with the new record.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see you guys in person when everything calms down. I will promise you I will be visiting you backstage because I do want to give the Ern just a big smooch on that smushy little face.
All right. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. What a great interview. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dustin from Starset. A pleasure. Me and Rosie, pause up, man, and all the best to Ernie. And we'll see you soon in 2021. Bye, Ern. Bye, buddy.
Thank you. See ya.
DHA's Reconnect with Rockers is powered by Advantage Contracting and by Karis Lock Company.